Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
To the show. Here we have Marley. Welcome.
Thank you, Simon.
And as you can see that I've had my quick exact 1 minute tutorial in sign language. What I just spoke to those that listened to my sign language was, welcome to the show. Here we have Barry Peter Oluoch,
Yes.
a public sign language interpreter par excellence, trained and accoladed. Tonight on the program, here on Desert Island Discs, he shares his life story. You possibly have seen him a couple of times in sign language translation. And for the life of all of us, we never knew that these are actually people that speak our usual language.
Yes.
But for Barry, he speaks 9 languages and he can interpret all of them. Once
Correct.
again, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Simon, for this opportunity.
I learned that your sign name is this.
Yes, an O on your chest,
Or on your chest.
Yes.
That's Oluoch.
representing Oluoch.
Oluoch.
Yes.
What about me? What sign name would you give me?
Simon, I will straight away give you, because of the outstanding features of your head. The bald, the shape.
And slanting like that of a grasshopper.
Oh, that would be great.
So isn't this what they give the president? Because he has the similar head like myself.
His Excellency, we give him because of the mustache. Yeah.
So
the mustache is this one, and then his title, like a cow.
Wow.
But that means the boss.
Boss. Well, again, we're happy to have you on the program.
Thank you, Simon.
We've picked interest in you because you speak to those that don't speak. But most importantly, you also speak to those that don't hear. On the program, speak to us. We hear. For those who are watching us but can't hear, you'll make a few signs for them. Like, you taught me a few things. What is your name?
I'm called Peter Barry Oluoch, and a Ugandan with a humble upbringing from Tororo district,
Wow.
eastern Uganda. So, and Barry Peter Oluoch was born 50 years ago, so to speak.
You don't look a day older than 40.
50 years ago, Simon.
You look about 10 years much younger than your age.
So this is the Barry you're talking about. And as I mentioned and introduced me correctly, I've been in the interpretation profession half my age.
Wow,
If I'm
25
50,
years.
for 25 years doing the translation. And I've done this, Simon, is not talking about praises, but trying to see how we can serve the deaf community. And the deaf community is great, is huge. We're talking about a community that uses sign language.
I know.
And any person who uses sign language to communicate, to transmit information, is part of that community.
You told me in our preparatory conversation that there are different categories of deaf people.
Yes.
There are those who were born deaf, so they've never had anything.
Yes.
So as you translate to them, if you say a cock croaked,
Yes.
they can't, so you have to, what do you do for such a person? Then there is someone who got deaf
Yes.
at 10 years,
Yes.
maybe fell sick,
Yes.
and then lost their sense of hearing.
Yes.
So they have had a car,
Yes.
they have listened to siren,
Correct.
they have had their parents' voices,
Very
or
good.
that's kept in a data bank somewhere in their mind.
Correct.
So they know a cock crowing. So you can describe it and they will pick it up.
Yes, correctly.
How are you able to balance the two categories, on the extreme ends, those that have never had a thing and those that have lost their sense of hearing?
Yes. Thank you, Simon. And that's what makes you a professional. Because when you're offering the service, you should offer the service in a professional way to cater for all the categories. As you correctly said, there are 5 categories. There are those who are born deaf, the cognitively deaf persons,
Wow.
from day 0 or year 1. So because
Day 0,
they have
let's say.
9 months
Mhm.
during the, but day 1 of year 1 they become deaf because of the other many causes. Could be cognitive, it could be in a way that it is hereditary, it could be because of antenatal mismanagement, and many other causes, even sicknesses, syphilis.
So all this you get in your training to cater for all these. And that explains why sometimes you've got to move your lips, because sometimes we see you, as you make your sign language, you move your lips.
Yes, correctly. You need to move your lips. If you don't move your lips, then the communication is not complete, because it has to be total communication. Although you are using sign language, but the deaf persons, please Simon, they have sight. So they will need to see your lips, how they move, your gestures, matching with visual movements.
Does it also have to do with your facial expressions? Like if you say, I am happy, they would not see it on your face, but if you say, I'm like...
Correctly, yes. You need to smile when you're signing you're happy. You can't sign when you're happy and you're gloomy. It doesn't match.
It doesn't match, yes.
So,
and when you are sad, you can't smile.
Yes.
You have to say, I'm sad.
Yeah.
What's the sign for sadness?
Sadness is gloominess. You push it down, but you need to have facial expression. That's very important for them, because they are viewers, they are watching you, and they're paying attention. And they're paying attention. And the interesting part of it, and also the other part, the biological part of it, is that they get tired through their sight. The eyes of deaf person get tired.
Oh, get tired.
So we as interpreters and professionals, you need to give him that allowance. Like
yeah, but sometimes it may not be about you. It could be the person that you are translating.
Yes,
they're speaking non-stop.
Yes, exactly. And our clients should be, the deaf person should be informed and aware
that this may take a long time.
Yes, and they should be able to put in a position to communicate that I need a rest, and also my interpreter needs a rest.
Needs a rest.
Yes.
Barry Peter Oluoch here has been an interpreter for a member of parliament that was impaired via the sense of hearing, and he did that for a whole 3 terms. That's 15 years.
Correct,
so in essence, you were as good as a member of parliament. Later on the program, you'll be telling us your experience being Honorable Alex Ndaizi's official translator, and the many things that you are able to translate for him and the experiences you had in there. But before we get into your accomplishments as a translator, let's first get to know you. You told us you were born 50 years ago in Tororo. But who were your parents? What kind of childhood were you born into?
Okay. Thank you, Simon. I was born in Tororo, in Agururu. But now it's...
You know, I'm looking at you differently. Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
But see, everything you do with your hands, I'm imagining it's a sign for something. So is this Tororo?
No. Tororo has a sign because it is rock. So on your front hand. So that's for to represent Tororo.
So you were born in?
I was born in Tororo. So from 2 lovely parents. Now, of course... Deceased.
Sorry.
Mr. Peter Oluoch and Unia Nangula. So Mr. Peter Oluoch, the late,
gave you the full name.
The full name. I inherited all the 2 names from.
Why? Are you the firstborn? One boy?
No, I was not the firstborn. In fact, I'm towards the last. My parents had about 13 children.
Before they had you?
Before they had me. So right now we are the ones who are alive are 7. So 2 boys with 5 girls.
Wow. Why do you think your father gave you his full combination of names?
It's interesting to think about it now that Simon, you have asked me, but maybe I look like him, although my brothers would claim so, but I have more resemblance to him than others. So my mother is the late Unia Nangula from Kachonga or Mbale districts. But right now it's Taleja districts.
Wow.
So the 2
met and had you. So this in Tororo, what was your father doing? What was your mother doing? How was your childhood structured to the best of your recollection?
My father was a former police officer. Well
decorated.
Very decorated.
By the time you were born, was he still serving or he had retired?
He had retired by that time.
Wow.
He had retired.
So you were a retirement baby.
Baby, correct. By 1971, he had already retired. But he was getting his pension, so as a former police officer, that was enough to cater for us. By that time, the economy was still good. So he would have 13 children and take care of them.
Be able to take care of them.
My mother was basically a household mother in the way that she took care of us. And we loved it that way.
Wow.
Each time we came from school, we'd find mom there. And if mom was not there, we would get sad.
I can imagine.
We loved it that way.
You'll be telling us, of course, which schools you went to and how your upbringing was, but I can also imagine you are highly cushioned by the fact that you come almost at the tail end of 13 siblings.
Yes.
They must have protected you, guided you, but also gave you inspiration.
Correct.
On the program, we play our music.
Correct.
So we give you the pleasure to play your first music.
Okay, thank you, Simon. For that case, because of when I was growing up, we were young people in the village. I liked reggae. And if it was not because of this transformation in life, I would be having dreadlocks now. But now, for that matter, let's play reggae by Bob Marley.
Bob Marley,
yes. Bob Marley. No woman, no cry.
There's no woman in your life for why you are celebrating No Cry, or it's just a song you love for what it is?
It's a song I love. Simon, I have a woman, I have a wife as well. I'll explain more about that.
That's incredible. I love Peter Oluoch's confidence. So yes, No Woman, No Cry. Bob Marley, as chosen by Barry Peter Oluoch, so who his sign name is this, as hosted on the show, Desert Island Discs, with myself, Simon Kasyate. This is my sign language. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back to the show, Desert Island Discs, with me, Simon Kasyate, and on the program, an incredible gentleman. He is a professional public sign language interpreter with over 25 years of experience, 15 of which were spent interpreting for a member of the Ugandan parliament that is impaired with regard to the hearing ability. So without a doubt, and we joked earlier on that in some places, in fact, they used to refer to him as an associate member of parliament. He'll be telling us those incredible stories when we get back with him. And here he is, Mr. Barry Peter Oluoch.
Right.
So in Mbale, born to a retired police officer with a housewife mother.
In
Tororo.
Yes.
Okay. In Tororo, born to a retired police officer, housewife mother with 13 siblings, or you were 12 siblings and yourself.
Yes.
Which schools did you go to and how was it like for you?
Yes. I went to a school called the Mkuju Primary School.
Is it still existing?
I think so. In Mkuju sub-county, could be. Yes, it is still existing, Mkuju Primary. From P1, Primary 1, up to Primary 4. Then it was a bit remote, but I was a bit tricky at that age. I opted to go to another school, but in town, which I did not know the name.
So your father allowed you the leverage to choose a school you wanted to go to at that tender age?
Yes, correct. And that's why you see the issue of similarity of names comes in, because I was able to make a leeway within myself, within home. So I moved to St. Anton, and that is a primary school called St. Kizito Primary School.
Wow.
So in St. Kizito, I studied from primary 5 up to primary 7. After primary 7, my studies, I moved to Manjasi High School.
Which was a very, very prominent school. Otherwise, it still is.
Yeah, it still is.
But it has
now
faced its fair share of competition.
Yes, but now it is mixed.
Oh.
We were only boys by that time. Right.
So you were in a Bulls club?
When Bulls Club in Manjasi High School, and then I finished my O-level there. Then I moved to Toro College.
That was more like natural progression. But tell me something. You know, I have to relate your history to your present.
Yes.
When was the first time you actually met a deaf person?
I met the first deaf person in my primary 7 vocation. I'd finished my primary 7, so I'd gone to church. By that time, I was still a Catholic. Then one of the worshippers was deaf, but I could see he was gesturing. And
how did you know they were deaf? Someone told you that man or that woman doesn't hear?
You know, at that age, you want to play with your peers. Someone closer to you, you want like to pull his shirt and see how he responds. But he didn't.
It was a she.
It was a he. So from there, we moved out of the church after prayers. I tried to engage and see how we could play with him, but he couldn't sign, he couldn't speak. So I felt like
there was something that was unique.
Different.
But at that age also, you don't have the sensitivities not to laugh Sometimes you may make fun of them. Did you ever
Yes.
have that kind of experience with
Yes,
particular-
correct. My friends already knew him as he was a deaf person.
deaf and dumb?
Yes, and
policemen?
dumb. But by that time they were in Tororo. They call them Obada.
Which in Buganda here, in
They call
fact, is
them
more derogatory. Kasiru.
Kasiru, very derogatory.
Mhm.
Simon, if you're a lawyer, some money for you there, an advocate.
In advocacy.
They say, and you can sue many of the stations, individuals, institutions, persons who still refer them as Kasiru to the level that it is connected to their mental capabilities, which is not. So at that level, I felt like this is something different. It looks different for me and different for my brothers, maybe some interest. So we came very close.
So you became friends.
At that age, yes, in primary 7.
So this that you're doing now is not so much because of the absence of another job. It is a feeling you developed earlier, if I get you right.
Correct. Deep in my heart, and I've looked for this profession and I got it. I said, then this is where I should pursue and I should put all my eggs here.
Let's
That's
go
why I
back.
served
Yeah,
my
now,
time.
now at least we've known when you first met the first deaf person.
Yes.
At what point did you get the idea that maybe you should study to professionally translate for them? Because let's not forget,
Yes.
you have a degree in industrial psychology and
Yes,
all that.
industrial psychology.
You have
Makerere University.
yeah, from Makerere University.
Correct.
You have got another profession. I think you have a diploma or degree in journalism.
In journalism,
You studied
diploma in human resource management, MOOPS, Nakawa,
this. But
and a diploma in public service interpreting from Chambogo University.
all those,
All those.
what you do for a living is what you earn from a diploma,
Yes. Not from the degree.
not from the
the
degree.
bachelor's that everybody is looking for at the Ivory Tower.
So you got Tororo College.
Yes, I go to Toro College.
What did you have in mind at that time? What did you want to be?
I wanted to be a journalist. After
Why?
my O-level, before I started my O-level, I had already sieved out the combination.
Mhm.
So I go to Toro College and I pursue history, economics, and literature.
Why did you want to be a journalist?
I wanted to be a journalist and to cover some of the inequalities, imbalances that I was already facing and experiencing in Tororo as a young child
Yeah.
within the city, within the town. So I felt like I should have a voice. You could put on the television, on radio, you could look at the newspapers. By the time we were getting newspapers from Kenya, Daily
Not even,
Nation,
yeah, not even Kampala.
no, they wouldn't reach Tororo. They would reach Tororo the following day. The newspaper for Monday would read it on Tuesday.
Or
It will
Wednesday, if you're
it will
like.
reach school on Tuesday, and the headmaster keeps it or goes back home with it and comes on the weekend with it.
Hey.
So I felt like we needed journalists who are from the ground, really, from Tororo to really cover Tororo well and cover Tororo at the national level. So I said I'll take journalism.
Did you ever do any other extracurricular activities in the school other than pursuing your academics?
Oh, correct.
Mhm.
Scouting. I started scouting from primary 7. I was doing scouting.
Why was scouting more appealing to you than perhaps football, which was every boy's dream extracurricular activity?
Yeah. And the interesting part, Simon, is that scouting was there, but it was dormant.
Mm-hmm.
So in my primary 7, I met the headmaster. I think he's still there, Mr. Kapongo. I told him we need a scouting club here, and the scouting club will support the football team, because the football team used to go without first aid, without
first aid.
cheering. They said we need these people, and I am ready to do it.
But you were not gifted in football
I
because of
wasn't.
size or talent?
I was not gifted in football because of height.
You're a very tall guy.
Yeah,
Oh, you
I
were
was
the
very
tallest.
tall. I was the tallest. So we had very good footballers who were very short boys. They gave me a hard time. I said, this team with football,
That's not mine.
that's not mine.
But I'll be the soldier.
I'll do the cheering.
Scouting.
So
Wow.
the club came up from St. Kizito Primary.
Mhm.
We brought it up. By the time I finished primary 7, the club had uniforms.
Wow.
So then I moved to Manjasi. Manjasi, I became a scout.
You revived it.
I revived it. I went to Toro College. I became the scout leader in Toro College.
Wow.
I had my own room. I had my own care. I was like a minister.
Wow. You were a general. You were a CDA.
Yes, in Toro College.
Hey.
Yeah.
Wow,
So-
that's quite very
So
interesting.
scouting brought me in. Why I took on scouting is that it gave me opportunities to talk to many people, interact with many people, and address people's problems. Remember, I told you that Tororo had not been covered well, so I felt like if I've taken scouting, I can influence people. They can become my friends, and we'll meet where we meet.
Peter, that was quite very ambitious of a young man at that time of your life. Again, on the program we play our music, so we'll give you the opportunity to play your next song.
Yes, still at that age, reggae was still dominating, so we'll go for Lucky Dube. So Lucky Dube will talk about Together as One.
Wow, Together as One or Different Colors One People? Is that the song? Is it the same song?
Together as One, I think they're different. Together as One, there's like, we can be in different places, different colors, but let's be one. But it's different from the colors. I think from the colors, he was talking about races, but now I'm talking about unity.
Unity. Yes. Wow, incredible. So let me just go through my music jukebox. Look out for this song, Together as One from Lucky Dube, as chosen by a man that if no fortunes had changed the way they did, he would possibly be sporting dreadlocks. That's Barry Peter Oluoch. We'll be right back. It's Desert Island.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back to the program. It is Desert Island Discs, and we are privileged to have a certified public space interpreter for people that are impaired with the sense of hearing.
Correct.
And his name is none other than Peter Barry Oluoch, or let's put it in the right order. Barry Peter Oluoch. So here you are. You complete your studies at Toro College. Where does life take you?
After completing my studies in Toro College was a very prominent, famous school.
It still is.
But it lacked proficient professional teachers. I'm sorry to tell you that, but we did our best to read to the level that you put your feet
in cold water in a basin at night.
But getting to principal passes were terrible, were hard. We couldn't, not most of us got them.
Oh dear.
So I had to leave Toro College and I went to the seminary, let's say Nagongera Seminary.
Now you start pursuing priesthood.
Unfortunately, I find myself there with the would-be priests.
Yes. Because you were looking for another opportunity
Yes.
to pass your A-levels.
Yes.
And they admitted you.
They admitted me. But you know, the seminary has its own regulations. And Simon,
I'm told you can't sleep with this body facing down.
Yes.
They will assume you are thinking of other things.
But they're so organized, they're so principled that they can't have this wayward youths. Yes. So I met the rector. They are called rectors, like headmasters. But he gave me a condition that he will only accept you if you are outside border. Like you don't reside here in the seminary, because you are not a potential priest. You come for academic purpose, specifically. So I said, that's fine, I'll do that. So I registered as a center, but I was studying while residing commuting from outside of the school.
And in your wildest of imaginations, did you ever think that possibly priesthood is a vocation you may consider?
Let me tell you about my father's background. My father's background was the ex-seminarian.
Ah.
Yes, by 1945, my father was already in the Nagongera Seminary at Chilete, seeking for a job. He had left the seminary and the seminary studies by that time. So from his experience, I didn't want to go to it. You
didn't want to go there.
Said, okay, what I want from Nagongera Seminary is
a good grade.
These people have books. Simon, they had books. Every desk had textbooks. I'd never seen it in any other school. Of course, in any other school, I'm referring Eastern region.
Of course.
So I felt like this is a center. Maybe I could, if I fail here, then I will not blame the institution. I will blame my mental capacities upstairs, maybe. So I went in for that.
And did you get it out?
I got it out, and I got my principal passes, which I wanted. But I also didn't want to go direct to the university because I had got most of my hobbies, most of the friends in Tororo town who had gone to the university didn't have jobs. So I didn't want to go through the same. They would come back home in
With
the
a
town
degree?
with a degree and brag around, smoke, marry, and just. So I said, no, I will not go there. I have my 2 principal passes. I'm not going to pressure my parents to pay for private sponsorship. And although government sponsorships was there, but there was the issue about filling them correctly, the job forms, knowing which first choices to put.
That career guidance you lack.
Yes, what are these cutting marks, points? So it was no way to think about getting a government sponsorship. So I came to Kampala. So when I came to Kampala, and that's around 1994, before the elections.
Okay, but let me ask. You say come to Kampala. You just boarded Tororo to Kampala without knowing anybody, or you first coordinated with somebody?
All right. I had my sister.
Okay.
Firstborn was already a psychiatric nurse in Butabika Hospital.
Okay.
So a well-trained one. So she was staying in Naguru, Nakawa. So I asked for a leeway to come in, but then it was not smoothly because they had, as a family, she had other responsibilities with her husband. So this is an uncle coming in and a brother-in-law, Mko. So it was tricky, but somehow I managed. I moved into Kampala with them. I stayed in Naguru for about 2 years with them.
Just doing what?
Now, when I was in Naguru in Kampala, I straight away registered for a diploma in mass media studies from the Uganda Institute of Media and Business Studies. Around Natete, I think. Popol, I think this institute is still there.
Possibly, yes.
Yes. So I studied there for a diploma course for 2 years. Remember the 2 years that I'd been given on agreement that I will be in Naguru with my in-law, with my sister for 2 years. So I wanted to utilize the contract.
For those 2 years. And do journalism, because that's what you had initially wanted.
Exactly. And I get the admission form, I register, and after 2 years, I'd already qualified with the first class.
Wow.
Yes. So I was already a trained journalist with a diploma in the hand, but not posted.
So what did you do?
So I started freelancing. So I went to monitor. By that time, there were the tops, by them, like former MP of Oluoch Gutus. Yeah. Then
from your place, Tororo,
yes.
There was Charles Onyangobo. So
there was the Observer.
Kevin Aliro.
The late. Yes, yeah, the late. So I said, I think, let me go there. I stormed in. But as I stormed in the monitor, they told me, yes, thank you for coming, but that's not how we recruit journalists here. We recruit them by output.
Show us what you have.
Brought. I said, okay, a story. I'll go for it. So I went for stories. Then I entered into freelancing. Then the stories would come and not come.
Then they pay you per story.
Per story. Sometimes they don't pay you.
You wait.
Money. You wait. So it dragged on for about 1 year. I said, I think it's not working on. I changed and I moved to the Marketplace newsletter.
Yes.
Simon, did you hear of the Marketplace?
Of course.
It's now
defunct, unfortunately. I don't think it's on the street.
Drake Sekeba.
Yes.
Yeah. So I became their reporter. So I covered some stories with them. But being a weekly newsletter, I needed money.
You need.
I had a diploma in my hand. I was a journalist, but money was not trickling in at that age. Remember, I'd come from Tororo with a target. So after doing the Marketplace journalism for about 1 year, I felt I was losing morale. And looking back and regretting, maybe I should have gone to university and just gone back to Tororo. So something came in my mind. I said, I think you could think differently. What about your friend that you met in Tororo? Why don't you think about him? Fortunately, Simon, I met him. He's still alive. He's Emmanuel is still there in Tororo.
The deaf guy?
Yes, the deaf guy is a big man, he's a family.
Wow.
He's still in Tororo.
So as you are contemplating, then you meet him?
Yes, I meet him.
Oh, you meet him where, in Kampala, or you had gone back to Tororo?
I'd gone back to Tororo because there's a route there. We have a place there just opposite St. Anthony Hospital. Yeah, we have a plot there. So I meet him and I try to gesture and write, but you know, he didn't go far into writing, but he would understand what I was communicating. Then he told me, then it's easy when you're in Kampala, then you can connect the National Deaf Association in Kampala. I said, is it? They have an association in Kampala? I said, fine. That was the target now. I bought Gateway by that time. Buses, Simon.
Yes, Gateway. I remember them.
I bought Gateway, back to Kampala, back to my sister. I told my sister, I've looked for a job.
Give me one more chance.
Yeah, just one more chance, about 2 months with you. I think of what to say and what to do. After 2 months, ask me what I am planning. So within the 2 months, there was a show in Lugogo. So I go to Lugogo. By that time, there was a information center managed by Patrick Banya. So I asked him to give me an opportunity because I'm a journalist. You know,
you were looking for survival,
yes. So he tells me.
So we're talking about the Uganda Manufacturers Association.
Yes, Uganda Manufacturers.
The expo.
The expo.
That normally takes place around October.
Around October.
Yes.
Very heavy by that time. Very heavy, booming factories were
coming. So which year was this?
This was 2000, around 2000 and... No, it was not yet 2000. The last one was around 1998. Around there, 1998.
So you go there.
So I go there, and Mr. Patrick Banya gives me to sell the Uganda Manufacturers Association newsletters, the exhibition newsletters.
Newsletters, yes.
So I tried to distribute that. So as I was distributing that, I could see deaf people trying to inquire and signing. So that drew me closer now. Now there are deaf people even coming to the show, but no one is interpreting for them. What's happening? So after that trade show, I started looking for where the National Deaf Association was located. They were located in Namirembe, just below the Mengo Hospital, in Namirembe, around there. So that's where the offices were. So I go there, first day, it was difficult. So
no one was hearing what you were saying.
Yes, I was talking, but I think I didn't approach it well. So surprisingly, I was already associating in my place of worship. So there comes, I meet one of the deaf person.
Again, in church?
Yes, in church, worshiping with us at the Kingdom Hall. So that's how I joined the National Association of the Deaf. Through him, he gives me recommendation as somebody who can be very useful to the National Association's secretariat.
Are they the ones who paid for your education in sign language?
Yes and no. Yes, in the way that after joining them...
As who? You were joining as who? You had all your capacities intact?
Yes, I joined them on this area by convincing them. Really not convincing them, could be maybe lobbying them, because they didn't have what I wanted them to have. I gave them an idea that they would have a newsletter that would talk more about themselves than them, because nobody was able to talk to them. And their voice was not heard. So it was better for them to have a newsletter that can articulate and broadcast what they have.
Oh, yes.
So they buy the idea and they say, now you should be the first person to write us articles. So we
they said, that's me.
Yeah, I'll do the newsletter. That's how we start UNAD, Uganda National Association of the Deaf newsletter, into making it for public consumption.
But that's before you again go to study sign language.
Yes.
So let's play your next song. When we return, you tell us what then made you transit from just associating with the deaf to actually going to study their language, to be able to speak to them and them to hear you.
Yes. So my next song has a title, Come to Jehovah's Mountain. It's a song in what I believe in for my worship. It really calms my mind when I'm from work and I need to think about the Creator. That's the song that plays. Please play that.
You transited from being a Roman Catholic to now a born-again Christian, if I understand you right.
Not a born-again, a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, you now are a Jehovah's Witness.
Correct. So confusing?
How did
Interpretation
you
with interpretation?
interpret for me what
A JW,
uh-huh.
a Jehovah's Witness.
Witness. So why did you become a Jehovah's Witness?
You know, the faith is not born; you study it and you develop it. So
For us, we follow what our fathers were.
it's
Baptize
different.
you.
It's different.
Mm.
Faith, you develop it, you studied it, and you embrace it. So Simon, coming from the Catholic background, there were lots of doctrines that I could not justify and defend as a Catholic. So
Don't make mention of them. I already have an idea what
you
you're
already have
talking
an
about.
idea about
Yes,
them.
exactly.
So I went into details to see how can I read the Bible to defend or not defend these doctrines. Surprisingly, what the Bible says is totally contrary to what the doctrines say. So I said, I'll stick to the Bible now.
Not the doctrines.
No.
Hence Jehovah Witnesses.
Correct.
We'll be right back after playing this wonderful song that brings the spirituality out of you. And this is the man himself, Barry Peter Oluoch. He is an interpreter. This is what they say, interpreter.
Correct.
We'll be right back.
You're good to listen.
Welcome back to the show.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back to the show. Please, let's learn this together. Welcome back to the show. Here we have Barry Peter Oluoch, who is a sign language interpreter. Beautiful, I'm getting it right.
Yeah, you're getting it right.
Everything
You're
is
really
right.
there. You're really there.
So you're now a member of the Association of Deaf Persons
Yes,
of Uganda.
Uganda National Association of the Deaf.
Of the Deaf. You are running their newsletter.
Correct.
But you don't speak their language.
Yes, no, I don't speak the language, so to speak. Yes, correct.
So how then did you get the impetus to go and train? And were you seeing opportunities in there?
So I sit on the desk. I'm a volunteer, part-timer, remember, news collector, journalist for them, editor, and all that. But I do not speak their language. I do the writing and tearing lots of papers and throwing them here and there. And there's no difference between me and any other person on the streets that they see. So I take interest in the language. I say, if this sign language is done by humans,
I will be one of them.
I should be one of them. Now, I embraced the sign. In 3 months, I was good enough to be an interpreter at the Deaf Association, National Deaf Association.
So the 3 months were trained from where? On the street, just meeting any other guy?
No,
or you
at the
went
association.
Just in the association office?
Yes. Hands-on, see, observe,
You see, like,
remember. Get it glued. See the sign, see how it is done. What does it represent?
And read a few books.
Yeah, and read a few books. Yes, there was a manual. So the director by then, Mr. Francis Soranit, right now he's in America, but he was a very helpful director. He gave me the manuals, he gave me the books. And interestingly, that's when I came to discover that sign language is different. Different countries have different signs.
Because you see, like now if you're going to interpret a Ugandan deaf guy that you're eating kalo.
Yes, you're eating kalo.
Hey, this is kalo.
Kalo, yes.
So if you're going to say I'm eating pizza, that one you don't have. Pizza is
this. Yes.
So if I'm eating noodles,
that one is
it's not there.
It's not there.
if you're eating sushi, like in Japanese.
In Japanese, sorry, that's not there. So, and those are the gaps in the manual, the dictionary that we have.
It's not a universal language.
It's not a universal language. And there are not gaps that they may not stop you from learning the language, because sushi is not here. It's in Japan.
It's in Japan.
So think about it when you go to Japan. But for now, stick to Uganda Sign Language, because you need to use the sign language to them.
So you learned this, you began to be proficient, and then you decided to go and get a qualification.
Yes. After 3 months with them, I did hands-on. Then I noticed that in future we'll need papers. By the time there was issues about papers, certification of what you have in your brain. How do you certify a theory? So you need papers. So as you asked me who financed my studies in Chambogo. So Uganda National Association of the Deaf recommends me very positively.
Wow.
Yeah, he's a
Top
gentleman we need. He's the only one we need. Please, can you put him there? So I get government sponsorship to go for 2 years for a diploma in public sign language interpreting in Chambogo. 2 years.
But also this while you're growing up, you are becoming an adult, you
Yes.
are beginning to relate.
Yes.
And at this point, do you have a family? Do you have a wife at this particular time?
No, I don't have a family at this point. I'm still on books, balancing, running up and down.
You were living shoestring.
Yeah, and I wasn't balanced well. Remember, I came from a family of 13.
13
so
years.
I felt like to go into that, I need to be very organized like my father.
Wow.
So by that time, I was married, Simon.
So you go and study this, because I'm told the Chambogo Institute is one of the best in Africa, if not perhaps the only one that provides that qualification in sign language.
The only one in
In
Africa. If you needed a sign language interpreting in Africa, you need to get Chambogo website and apply. But you can get bachelor's from the Addis Ababa University. You can get bachelor's from the Bloemfontein University in South Africa. But diplomas is what takes you there.
Are you planning to upgrade?
At my age,
50?
maybe 50, maybe do the training. Because
teach them.
Simon,
With your
25
experience.
years, no lecturer who lectures sign language who has 25 years sign language interpreting. So instead of going to learn, why don't I teach?
So now, interesting. Now I know your journey is moving and you're beginning to fit in the association. But then I meet you for the first time interpreting for a member of parliament while I was a reporter at parliament, and I could see you, and well, I didn't understand the dynamics and all that. Just jog back my memory. How did you meet the Honorable Alex Ndezi?
Yes, thank you. Honorable Alex Ndezi was the chairman of the Uganda National Association of the Deaf. So maybe having seen my potentials, my capabilities, he recommends me to interpret for him in parliament.
When he was elected as a member of parliament representing persons with disability.
Yes, but he was already in parliament by that time.
As the chairperson.
As a chairperson, as also as a member of parliament. You know,
so
he came in parliament around maybe 1996.
1996,
yes. But by 1996, I was not.
You were not there. So who was interpreting for him before that?
He had other two interpreters, Mr. Martin Senoga and Process Suvi. They've advanced.
They're international.
Process Suvi is lecturing in Chambogo. Martin Senoga is a program manager in Nudipu, National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda.
So here enters Barry Peter Oluoch.
Getting
Parliament.
Yes, Parliament. That
How
is 2001.
For that, after that election, you get into Parliament. Tell us how it felt like now. All of a sudden, you're on the national big stage. Yes. You're sitting with him in the Chamber of Parliament, weren't you?
Yeah. Inside, in the
chamber.
Gallery, the chamber.
In the chamber.
Yes. I think we are very few of the interpreters who have been there. You can count them from the tips of my hand. Maybe less than 5 or 6, less than 5 who have been in the chambers. So remember, Simon, I didn't have panic because I was already interpreting way back. I had been an interpreter at the National Association of the Deaf. I'd been an interpreter on UBC with Barry Francis, the late Barry Francis.
Wow.
So
also, when you qualified
on UTV, yes,
transiting to UBC, then brings you on board. Yes. So the first sign language interpreters we begin to see.
Yeah, it's Barry Oluoch on UTV.
With Barry Francis.
With Barry Francis. It was very interesting. The news is being read by Barry Francis.
Is that the sign? How?
No.
So how?
Yeah. The news. That's Barry Francis. You know the sign on for Barry Francis and sign off the tune.
No.
This news is being read by Barry Francis, and in sign language we have Barry Oluoch. Very interesting. We had a nice couple with the late.
That must have been very.
So I get into Parliament and I started interpreting. It was very interesting seeing the parliamentary setting. First of all, the political setting was different. The vocabulary, the technicalities. because Parliament is the only spot, I think, in this country where you get the highest concentration of politicians with qualifications, with the vocabularies.
So when the likes of Ben Watcher would be speaking,
Ben
you'd be
Watcher
like,
and the former, the prime Professor Apollo Sibambi with the lugubrious. How would you sign that to a deaf person? Lugubrious.
tell me, you're the guy. Mhm.
And
So you started,
English being played with, a building where there's a meeting, they say it's the August House. How can a building become an August house? And
Not
yet
a
you're
November
used-
house,
It's
no.
not a November, August. Those are the vocabularies you get in political
so you
settings.
had to increase the characters in your dictionary? Did you have to invent some new signs? It must have been a Herculean task for you.
Very. In order for the deaf member of parliament, Honorable Alex Ndezi, to be able to follow up the proceedings, both at the committee, in the plenary, during the workshops, in sessions.
Mhm.
So to do that, I as an interpreter, or you as a professional interpreter, you need to upgrade your skills, you need to upgrade your vocabulary, you need to upgrade your signs. By the way, remember, Simon, there was no dictionary that we could refer to. And you don't ask a deaf person. The deaf
Have
person,
you understood?
Yes, the deaf person says, me, I've given to you what I want you to communicate to them. You don't ask a deaf person, how should I say this?
But Alex would write.
Yes,
He could
he
read.
could read, he could write.
So in other words, if you interpreted something wrong,
Right.
or he didn't quite get it from your sign,
Yes.
you would ask for the Hansard,
For the Hansard
and he reads.
to confirm.
And then he could write to you. How
Right.
would he communicate to you? So sign language, or he would write a note to you?
He would write a note to me, and we're sharing the same office. I was his interpreter, as well as the parliamentary interpreter, but also his personal assistant. So we would share the desk, we would share the same office. So he
If
would-
you were to rate your job at the time with that of the lady who assisted the Honorable Babadiri,
Yes,
because I believe that you are MPs in your own right.
yes,
The lady, Honorable Babadiri, doesn't see. So there's somebody
Yes.
that sees for her, counts
yes.
the money, right?
Yes,
So
Honorable
not-
Badiri.
Wouldn't you comfortably say you were as much members of parliament?
Yes. Yes and no.
Because you are not
Because-
elected.
First of all, we're not elected.
Mhm.
We're not politicians. I'm
Mhm.
not a politician. We basically serve. We give the service through a different medium, which is sign language.
If what's being conversed doesn't please you, or you don't agree with it and all that, but you have to translate it the way it is,
Yes.
how are you able to disassociate your personal feelings and whatever is coming out of whoever is speaking that you need to translate to your client?
Yes, correct. And that's what differentiates a professional
From a politician.
from a politician and from a quack interpreter.
Wow.
You remember the one during Mandela's burial,
Yes.
the gentleman who made news? So that's what makes the difference.
Wait a minute. You were watching that, Barry,
I was watching,
and you could see that this man was making no sense.
and I couldn't fly to South Africa. I would have flown by that time South Africa and told them, halt,
This is a hoax.
a hoax. You have a wrong person on the screen.
Let's play the next song. When we return now, we shall be looking at what you're currently doing at the moment, because you're not in parliament translating, but also I think from my earlier conversations with you, I realized that you were actually employed by the Honorable Daisy and not necessarily by parliament. And yet I think that parliament as an equal opportunities institution must have people like yourself on their payroll, because there could be deaf people showing up in the strangers gallery. They could be visiting deaf people that don't have the privilege of having a personal translator like you had.
Yes.
So you should be a pool of translators in there that are able to provide this service, but they are not. Perhaps maybe, well, we have a new parliament coming up and all that. Maybe these are ideas.
500 plus?
So now this is ideas that possibly, who knows, you could be back in parliament before we know it.
Maybe. That's
Your next
interesting.
song.
Yeah. My next song will go for See Yourself When All Is New.
This is a song that is in your church circles. Do you think I have it?
Yes. See yourself when all is new. Seeing myself when all this that I've gone through and seeing a brighter future, that makes my day, Simon.
Wow, incredible. What an inspiration. I'll be right back. It's Desert Island Discs.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.
Welcome back to the show. Here we have Barry Peter Oluoch. He is a sign language interpreter. And
Wonderful.
for all now I know, he is actually a founder and current director of the African Sign Language and Interpreters and Translators Agency, which is abbreviated as AITA. And that's now the agency in which you're applying your trade, and you are not only training translators and interpreters,
Yes.
but you're also offering that as a paid for service.
Yes.
And also going through advocacy for call upon institutions and individuals to say there is a need for your kind of service. And that's why now, for the most part, many public events, we see your services being put, just not even just about TV news, but in others. How is that going for you?
Yes, thank you, Simon. Coming up with the African Sign Language Interpreters and Translators Agency. Africa is an agency with a registered, and we have a pool of interpreters to meet and address the needs of sign language, professional, qualified sign language demands.
Are you many anyway?
We are many because averagely we are trained in Chambogo, and each year since 1998 we have been qualifying, graduating 25 to 26 persons.
So you
Each
possibly
year,
now must be in your
over 300
300.
or 500.
That's
interpreters.
only in Uganda.
Only in
But
Uganda.
remember, there is the university in Ethiopia, there is
Yes.
Bloemfontein University in South Africa.
Yes.
Are you in touch with the cohort of all these translators and interpreters?
We are trying to have a network
Mhm.
whereby we can get in touch with them, or they get in touch with us
And carry out synergy.
and carries out synergies and offer services wherever they are. We don't move them. If you are in Lira, you're in Gulu, you're in Kampala, stay where you are. We want to contact you, offer the services there, and we pay for you, or they pay for you. So that's the major objective of this agency.
What about the advocacy part, where you are screaming out to the country to say, look, this is an important
Yes.
service, and it sits at the core of the human right of those that can't hear?
Great.
Mhm.
Because it's the core. Simon, there is a saying that with understanding comes respect and dignity. You cannot respect a person or an
A
object
profession.
or a profession when you don't understand it. There are many deaf persons in this country, but people do not understand them. Institutions don't understand them. Government doesn't.
And our
understand
culture
them.
doesn't understand them. That's why we call
The
them
culture doesn't
Kasiru.
understand them.
And they grew up thinking they are less human than
Yes.
ourselves.
Now, my agency, we have come up to say we shouldn't blame them. Can we make them understand before? Can we tell them the needs, the potentials, the untapped talents that are in deaf persons,
But for the most
communication skills?
But for the most part, Peter,
Yes.
advocacy requires a huge injection of funding. Are you sacrificing your personal savings to do this work? Do you have some people funding you? Or are you a lone ranger in the wilderness and
Yeah.
possibly crying out for some kind of funding?
Yes, thank you, Simon. For now, I'm a lone ranger.
Or
Following your words, I've put in some money with the hope that as it comes on, people will understand and know the needs. Simon, there are over 12.4% of Ugandan's population
is
are
deaf?
persons with disabilities. Out of the 47 plus million persons, 12.4% are persons with disabilities. If you break it down, maybe about 1% are persons with disabilities. That's a big number. They have no access to information and communication. Simon, you're a mass media person. You know the difference between information and communication. You may be communicating but not informing.
True.
You may have information and you're not communicating to it.
Mhm.
So they lack capabilities, or they are not supported to be where they're supposed to be. And our services as sign language interpreters, we are it's a demand-driven service. If a deaf person does not demand for my service, then I will not appear.
But then you should now make it natural that wherever a deaf person be, there should be an interpreter for them, as a simple right.
Yes, as a human right. They have the right to access to information. Simon, you know it. It's a right.
It's a right.
Just like a right to eat, right to sleep, right to education. So right to information is access.
Well, I could say that having spent some time at Parliament and being a de facto member of Parliament, you know a few doors to knock on, and I'm sure that some of those doors have watched you on the program this evening, and that they will follow through and reach out and possibly provide that platform from which then you should be able to launch this great agency and transform the lives of those that are impaired in their sense of hearing. But let me get down to you as an individual. Now you have a family, you have married. How many children are you blessed with? Or we don't count children when you come from Tororo?
In Tororo, we don't count it. We haven't changed now. We don't count children. We don't even count cows. Because there's no more dowry. we negotiate. We negotiate. So, Simon, I am married. I'm married to Maureen Muruka, and she's my wife.
Is
Lovely
she
at home.
Does she hear?
She's a hearing. She's not a deaf person.
Okay.
That would be too much, Simon, to do the signing at work, in the profession, and do this interpretation at home.
Wow.
That would be heavy for me. She's hearing. We have 3 lovely daughters.
Wow, incredible.
My firstborn is Elsie Nangula. She's 15 years.
Wow.
Secondborn is Macy Were, 14 years. And Ashley Anyango Oluoch. She's 5 years.
Wow.
So we live in Kasyate,
Nangawo,
sub-county, Nalsuga, just here.
We'll come and pay a visit one of these days, and they're possibly watching this evening as we have our conversations. So tell me something, Pete.
Yes.
As a sign language interpreter, what are some of your best moments? The part where you...
where I really jubilate and say, this is it. My best moment, Simon, is when I do the interpretation and I really see my deaf client clicking, commenting, and raising up his hand or her hand to contribute towards what I've communicated. That is perfect for me, makes a day for me.
And what is it that makes you...
What makes me sad. Is like you try to see how organizations that talk about inclusivity, having an inclusive society, but they plan and they leave out a whole population of deaf persons not having access to what we take for granted. Simon, this program, this radio show, Simon, are you paying any money to watch, or is your family paying to watch and listen to this program? They have access to it. But a deaf person will have to pay an interpreter to listen to this program, to watch this program. So where are the rights? That makes me sad. Yes.
But as an individual, what's your favorite dish? Food?
Yes, my favorite dish for the day, if you fried meat, you know that frying without soup. With
deep stir fry,
deep fried stuff. Not oven fried. Deep fried. Really,
you must sear it.
You must sear until you smell the onions. With color, with a Coke.
Wow.
That makes my lunch. But when it comes to the evening, you can add sweet red wine. I'll slumber that night.
Comfortably. Unfortunately, I think I may have to get it to you after the lights have closed so that we can enjoy it when the rest of our listeners have gone to sleep. Mr. Barry Peter Oluoch, it's been a pleasure having you on the program. But there's one question that nobody misses when they sit in here. This is a very beautiful country. Tororo is lovely. I mean, sitting up the rock, I'm sure you'll have a 360 view of the whole country. But where in Uganda would you love to be taken to have a good time or get marooned? And why?
And why? The best place I could go to where there's nature, anything to do with nature. I love trees very much. Could be in a game park, kind of. With my family, with my family.
Wow.
That will make
your day.
It's like the saying goes, the wish list. That would be a wish list.
Incredible. It's been a pleasure to have you on the program. So how do I say this in sign language for those that can't hear me to pick it up? Say, it's been a pleasure to have you on the program or on the show.
On the show. It was happy to see you
See
in this program.
this program.
Yeah. It was happy to see you in this program.
So it was happy
Happy
to see you,
Yeah.
Barry, on this program.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, it's not an easy feat, but I will learn
you learn.
one step at a time.
Yeah.
For you viewers and listeners, it couldn't have been a better and more insightful show for us to get into the life and times of a sign language interpreter, but more so one that has got the proficiency of Barry Peter Oluoch here. And I believe that his star is still rising. And who knows, one time he'll be back on the program to share with us the next chapter of his life. Let's meet same time, same place, with God being our guide. But before we go,
Thank you.
you must leave us with one song, sir.
Oh yes. Simon, for this last song, to be inclusive.
Yes.
Yeah, very inclusive. To bring in all, we'll play Makeba with Malaika.
Malaika.
Because she has some rhythms. The deaf people do listen to music.
Tell me how.
Yes.
Actually, I didn't hear. How
if you
do
play
they?
music, you know the vibration through your feet.
You're kidding
And it
me.
goes into their hearts. They get the rhythm, they dance.
So they actually feel music.
They feel
I
music.
thought when there is like in a disco, you have to.
No, they feel it. Don't try the deaf people in Governor or Angenua. You'll be outspotted. You'll be outmatched.
Well, this needs some scientific interpretation, but I'm glad that there is a bit of that
Yes.
window of opportunity for them at least
Yes.
to listen to music.
They listen to music. They dance to music. They
Wow.
dance to drumming. So Makeba has drummings in the background. Malaika would take in that.
Let's meet same time, same place next week with yet another incredible life story from an ordinary folk, but with an extraordinary life story. God bless us all.
Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM. Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM. Desert Island Discs on 91.3 Capital FM.